He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the coast of Mississippi and the amazing people who make this place such a great place to live, work, and play. Sunshine again. We have sunshine in coastal Mississippi. I didn't think we were ever going to have sunshine again. So much rain. I mean, here in Biloxi, somewhere between like 9 and 13 or 14 inches. Unbelievable amount of rain. I was joking with my son over the weekend that we were driving across Pops Ferry Bridge, and I told him that we may never see salt water again in our lifetime in Back Bay, Biloxi, but we're lucky. It's very resilient. The tide will push some beautiful water back in, and the fishing will get good again. But just before the rain started coming so heavily, the fishing was starting to get really good in Back Bay. But we'll look forward to those days to come again. Speaking of water, I have something from my friend Stacy Waldrop that she posted. I thought this was great. The author is unknown, but here is what it says. An entire sea of water can't sink a ship unless it gets inside the ship. Similarly, the negativity of the world can't put you down unless you allow it to get inside you. I'm always focused on that because I do think in this day of social media, which I say on almost every show, it changes us and it causes us to forget about the people that we're communicating with. And too often we're willing to say things on social media that we really wouldn't say to someone if we were looking them in the face. And speaking of face, my friend Susan Griggs posted this one. Again, author is unknown, but this is terrific. It says this: your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And the way you make others feel is your trademark. Think about that for a second. I think that's a really powerful one. You know, I've enjoyed focusing on the diversity of coastal Mississippi, especially as it relates to our history. Man, if you go back in history here in coastal Mississippi, whether I'm having conversations with the mayors like Fofo Gillich, has such a passion for the history of Biloxi, for example, or George Slogel or Lenny Sawyer or Roy Anderson, and see the impact that their families had on Gulfport, and learning things like the role the port played in the early days of coastal Mississippi. I had the real fortunate honor of marrying Ann Bohanovich, and learning about her family's history, the Mangens and the Melancons, and her grandfather Andrew Melanson. He was born in Coteau, Louisiana. That's near New Iberville, and was part of the original Cajun settlers there. The Kosvasoviches, which is her father's mother, and then of course the Bohanoviches. Learning about that family and that lineage is just incredible. That actually led my wife and me to go to Croatia a couple of years ago and tour that amazing country, and get to have a better feeling for where her grandparents came from. We went to the islands of Brock and Hvar off the coast of Split. And man, gosh, when you go to places like that, beautiful country, and understand the culture, and then you see what you see there, and then you bring it back to Biloxi, and you realize the impact that those families had on Biloxi and on coastal Mississippi. It's just incredible. In fact, I have to tell you, we can't wait to bring our family back to Croatia, and hope that we'll be able to do that soon. So much history here in coastal Mississippi, which brings me to today's guest, an author of a new novel, Cradle in the Oaks. I'm really pleased to have my new friend Candace Wheeler joining us today. Candace, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today, Ricky?
I'm doing great. Look, so much history. You know this, and we'll explain to people how and why you know that. But the book that you wrote took place in 1906, and my wife Ann and I were trying to do some of the math this morning. And at the time of the book, her grandparents were 14 years old, and they had been working already in the seafood factories since they were 11 years old, which is when they arrived from Croatia. As you know, they went to work young in those days, and they came here to seek a better life. And so that history is well documented. But if you go back and look at some of the families that are the real families, I think some 90 of them that are somehow featured as real families, characters in your book, like George Orr and the Bark family and Ducates and Desborants, and the list goes on and on. It must have been so much fun for you. Again, we're going to get into your book in a minute because I want to hear your story before we get.
That it ended up being like 500 typewritten pages.
Wow, that is, that's the way it works. I told you off the air. So this is your first book.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I have not read it yet. I had an opportunity to over the weekend, but very busy over the weekend. Didn't have that opportunity. But now that I've done some research about the book and better understand it, as I mentioned to you off the air, this is a book that people who just care about the history of Biloxi will enjoy. But then it also has a great story that it tells. Just a lot of intrigue, and we'll get into that in a second. But I mentioned to you, you should have started writing about 30 years ago. But the problem was you were a lawyer, and by the time you stopped writing as a lawyer, you probably just wanted to get away from it all. Is that true?
Well, I was a lawyer and a mother.
Yeah, yeah.
Raised two sons, and so that kept me busy. I was a PTO president, school board member, and you know how all of that goes. You get involved in your children's activities and following them around. And so after they left, I kind of, had a little bit more free time, and I just started thinking about this story many, many years ago. And I've always been interested in writing because I majored in journalism at Southern. And I just couldn't handle those deadlines, like 2:00 in the morning.
How well I know. my whole life was deadlines. My whole career was about deadlines. Yeah. But you're a fourth generation Biloxian. Right. And isn't it interesting to you that Biloxian, I say all of Coastal, I don't care if you're from Bay St. Louis or from Pascagoula or all points in between, that we here in Coastal Mississippi have such a great connection to the generations that came before us, and we kind of live honoring them. Is that a good representation of how you feel about it?
It is. It is. My family background comes from the Cajun, Louisiana side. My grandfather came over. His family came from Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And they went to Abbeville, Louisiana, and then ended up in Biloxi. And on the other side came from the Irish immigrants that came into the port of New Orleans and then came over here. And a lot of them worked in the train industry and on the railroads. And so essentially one in the master's program, I don't know if it was sociology or what, I did a study of an ethnography on the Nova Scotian influence in South Louisiana. And that's, and then as luck would have it, I met my wife, and then you heard me mention her grandfather Melanson, and they came, they're same Nova Scotian. Maybe y'all were related, or that you're related to my wife in some way. But that is such an interesting story about how the Nova Scotians came to settle in South Louisiana. And her grandfather, when he would talk to me, he would say this. He would say, "Hey, Bubba, what you doing? Yeah, come here over here and talk to me. Yeah, you wanted to go fishing? Yeah, brought yourself here." I just love that accent, and that's very true to you as well. You heard that all your life, I guess. Yeah, and I can remember my great grandmother, and I have a little part of the story that talks about a woman who was like the grandmother sitting down in a chair, and she spoke only French, and she told everyone who came into her house, "When you come in here, you can only speak French." And she didn't quite understand. She wanted to preserve her language. She didn't understand that you had to learn to speak English to, move somewhere into this country. So she learned.
I heard those stories.
Yeah.
Both on the French side and the Croatian side. And one of the highlights of our trip to Croatia, we had this great driver. His name was Henry, and he took us from Split over to Dubrovnik. We went through, where did we go through? What was the name of the country? Anyway, it doesn't matter now. But as we're riding along, Ann would say, what is this term? Because she was testing some of the terms that she learned growing up, and she would say, and oh yes, this is that, and he would talk about it, and they would talk together, and we would play, beautiful music from Croatia that Ann grew up on, and watching the two of them connect, it was so special. But same thing on the French side. And, I think that's the way, one of the things that I really enjoyed about getting to know Ann's family was the diversity of the food. and how important religion was to their family, and the cross section between the French cuisine and the Yugoslavian cuisine, and how it all connected, and how it played out during the holidays. So interesting. Making the pastries. You know all that.
Yeah, at launch day this past weekend, we made sure we had both busheratas and pralines.
See, I had to learn to. I watched them every year make busheratas, of course, and Anne's mother will really enjoy hearing this part of the show. But listen, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Candace Wheeler, who wrote a terrific book that. It's a fiction book that has a lot of true characters in it, and we'll come back and talk more about her book when we get on the other side of this.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's J. Allen at J. Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the J. Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the J. Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I'm having a terrific conversation with author Candace Wheeler, who had a really busy weekend, I might add. Book signing and ribbon cuttings. And tell me about your weekend, Candace.
Oh, it was a great weekend. Even with the weather being rainy, people showed up. I started at the Hillier House from 10 in the morning till 12, and we signed books from the 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We had a great turnout. And then we moved on to the Seafood Museum from 2 to 4. Again, wonderful turnout. My publisher said it was the best launch day he had had for any of his authors ever. So I think that's a tribute to the coast and the people.
It is. It is. Dogwood Press is your publisher.
Yeah.
And again, I look forward to reading your book. So let's go back for just a second. You grew up in Biloxi, and you ultimately decided that you wanted to pursue law. You talked about journalism. You didn't like the deadlines, but it seems to me if you want to be a lawyer, you had to fall in love with deadlines again. Tell me about
At some
that.
point. Yes, I went to decide to go to law school. Went through Southern in that quarter system. We got through in 3 years. So I went to law school, and I learned so much and met so many people. That's where I met my husband. We were actually at Biloxi High together. I was in the 10th grade, and he was a senior, and we didn't know each other. Met each other in law school and got engaged, and were married by the time I graduated. So I'm glad I went to law school.
Thus, Wheeler and Wheeler was born.
Exactly. When I got out, we formed our firm, and we've been practicing together for 40 years now.
Wow. Tell me about your specialty.
I specialize in wills and estates.
Mm-hmm.
Probate of estates, and when people come in and they need a will or healthcare power of attorney, that's my specialty.
Well, that's so interesting. So, okay. So you had all these notes that you had taken over all these years. How long did you say, I'm going to write a book? And then how many years passed before you actually sat down and started to write your first page?
Probably about maybe 2 years passed before I wrote the first page. The idea and the inspiration for the story came from a newspaper clipping that from 1906 that we found among my husband's grandmother's possessions. And it was just simply a picture of a woman dressed as a man, which was her, and described her journey through the South to try to find her sons that her husband and his mistress had abducted. I said, what a cool story. And no one in the family really knew anything about it. I guess it was just a deep, dark family secret, but this newspaper article was there. So I tried to find out more about it. I couldn't find anything. So I decided to create something. And that's where this story came from.
So you have the story that came from your imagination about what her journey might have looked like.
Exactly.
Combined with this incredible history, sort of the state of affairs for essentially coastal Mississippi, but really specifically Biloxi during 1906.
Right.
How did you get to the point where you said, okay, I'm actually in my mind living in 1906 and I can place this character there? That took a lot of work, didn't it?
It did. It took a lot of research, Ricky, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a lot of fun. And what I did was I started with the books that I could find on the coast by our historians that have preserved it through the years, like Val Husley and Morella Powell and the late Edmund Boudreaux. And all of those put me in that time period. And 1906 just happened to be a great year to find things on the coast. We had a great schooner race that year. We had a hurricane that year. We had, all of these fun, exciting things. And the more I researched, the more I found. I fell in love with it, the story.
Well, you go back into those days, you think about, in some ways it was sort of like a renaissance of coastal Mississippi that was evolving. The influence of New Orleans and the impact that New Orleanians had on coastal Mississippi. And, we talk about that even today as we think about the pandemic and what's happened with New Orleans' influence on Hancock County and moving over into Pass Christian and Long Beach and really the coastal Mississippi. But that was, I don't know if you refer to it as the glory days, but there was something special about that time frame, wasn't there?
There was. And when you talk about the people from New Orleans who came here, they, like today, a lot of them were tourists to begin with, and they loved the area so much that they started building beautiful homes along our coast, our beach, and they became involved in our politics and became benefactors of our cities. Harry Howard was one of the real life characters that I have in the novel, and something interesting about him is he served as both Biloxi's mayor and the King of Rex for the carnival crew of wrecks in New Orleans in the same year, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's rare, even today.
Yeah, and he was also involved in city councilman along the way before he became a mayor, and he gave money to build our schools along the coast, and Howard Avenue is named after his family. And his father started the Louisiana Lottery. That's where all their money came from.
There were a lot of power brokers and glamour and dreamers, and I'm assuming that some of that sort of made its way into your book.
Yes.
So in the short time we have left together, so kind of give wet people's whistle about the journey she went on. So essentially her husband left with her babysitter and their 2 kids, and so essentially vanished, right?
Right. And no one had any idea where they went. And so, here was this poor, desperate woman with no money. Her husband left her with nothing. She had the house she lived in, but she had to recreate herself. And she had to figure out not only where and how am I going to go find my children, but how am I going to support myself and get there? So I figured, I don't really know what she did, but I think I'm going to put her in the seafood industry.
Yes. And she learned it from the ground up.
Yes.
So you had to put yourself in the seafood industry.
I did. And I found out through my research that there was this couple on the coast, Sophie and Lise Desport. It looks like Ulysses, the spelled Lise. Their granddaughter, who is a judge on the coast, Jennifer Schlegel, actually told me about that's how they pronounced it back then. And we had a great conversation about that particular couple. Anyway, they became central in my story, and Sophie ends up being the mentor, my character Carrie, and gets her through the seafood industry and to a point where Carrie moves on and creates herself into a person she never thought she could be. So,
well, it actually led her to the east coast of Florida.
Yeah.
Tell me about that aspect.
Okay. I did read in the newspaper article that she did search through Florida. I didn't know where, but I've always been fascinated with St. Augustine. So there's a lot of history in St. Augustine, as you know. So I decided she was going to go to St. Augustine, and that's where Henry Flagler had his great Ponce de Leon Hotel, which ended up being today it's Flagler College, and you can actually go in and walk around and see that beautiful museum. And then she's going to go a little bit further down to the coast to some more Flagler hotels down in Palm Beach. So you get to see a little bit of Florida in there, and back in 1906, what was going on in those areas.
Yeah, Flagler is an interesting study, by the way, and I've been to some of his hotels before, and the influence he had in Florida is just tremendous. And your book, it may actually argue who were some of the Flaglers of the day for coastal Mississippi in 1906. And certainly, the seafood industry titans had a big impact, that's for sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned Jennifer Schlegel, because the Schlegel family and their connection, and George Schlegel in particular, one of the best historians that I know. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to sit and talk to him about the history of coastal Mississippi, but man, unbelievable. But I would argue that, he had a sort of a Flagler influence here in coastal Mississippi, but there's so many characters that have made an impact, and through books like yours and the research you've done, you gain an appreciation for that, don't you?
You do. I learned so much about the Parks and the Duquette Theater, and the influence he had both in the seafood industry and on the culture of our coast. And I think that's what drew me to history is, Ricky, today it's like and I think that might be why they waited so long to write it. I think we appreciate our history more the older we get.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I had a quote. I can't remember exactly how it said it, but we get a lot wiser as we get older. But one of the things that we wish is that we would have started having that appreciation much earlier in life. And maybe by having conversations like this, we can help people become, a little bit more connected earlier, so they're more interested in learning more. And that's why your book, the Cradle of the Oak, right?
Cradle in the Oak. And
in the Oak, yeah, in the Oak. All right.
Yeah, because
it's so important because it really helps. Within what sounds like a cool, interesting, mysterious story is this great historic sort of laying out of what was going on in 1906. But we're out of time, Candace Wheeler. But it's been a pleasure to visit with you. Yeah, I never know how much I'm gonna be touched by people, but I was touched by you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed talking to you today, Ricky.
It's been a real pleasure. It's been a real pleasure. When we come back, we'll continue our conversations. I'll see you after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
My name is Desiree Maybee. I'm the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator for NCBC Gulfport. I'm here with Captain Powell to cover the proclamation for the 1st of April of 2021 is the beginning of Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. And the theme for the month is Protect Our People, Protects Our Mission. Captain Powell will be signing the proclamation now.
Well, thanks, Desiree. So we're so excited to have Desiree in this position. She's jumping in with both feet, and it's such an important topic, such a thing to be aware of this month, but also all year long. And so really appreciate your leadership and devotion to this important cause. So with that, I'm going to read a proclamation and then sign it. Sexual Assault Prevention and Awareness Month proclamation for NCBC Gulfport. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual assault remains a dishonorable, violent crime that impacts mission readiness for our Navy community. And whereas sexual assault is a violation of the core values we support and defend as proud members of today's Navy, whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and support survivors and victims of this crime to ensure they are provided the help needed to survive sexual violence. And whereas dedicated leadership and sexual assault prevention and response staff encourage every person to step up as shipmates to prevent acts of sexual violence. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence within the Navy through prevention education, increased awareness, and holding offenders who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas Naval Construction Battalion Center Gulfport strongly supports the dedicated efforts of national, state, and local partners that are actively engaged in the prevention, awareness, and response efforts surrounding sexual violence. Now therefore we do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month within NCBC Gulfport, and call upon all Navy personnel and their families to increase their participation in our efforts to prevent sexual assault and thereby strengthen the Navy community. Signed by me, first day of April 2021. Thank you.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation with Candace Wheeler, author from coastal Mississippi, and I can't wait to read her book. What a terrific book that has to be, and with sort of this embedded Biloxi history in it, it's going to be a fun read. I'm looking forward to reading that. Hey, last week we were going to have a conversation with someone, and unfortunately we had a technology issue, and we had to sort of scratch it. But we're getting it back on track today because it's an important conversation. Because this month is is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. It's the whole month of April, and I shared a couple of these statistics last week, and I want to share them again because I think it's important. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. That's according to the National Intimate Partner in Sexual Violence Survey. 90% of victims know the person who assaulted them, and that's according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. I talk about this a lot on my show because it's something that I care deeply about, the issue of human trafficking, and how human trafficking hits coastal Mississippians is often through a family member, which is amazing to think about that. I mean, it's disgusting to think about that, but it's true. I wanted to have more of a conversation about this, and our friend Brian Lamar, who's head of public affairs out at the CB base, someone I've really enjoyed working with, and is lined up so many interesting people from the base for me to talk to. I really look forward to today's conversation because it's with Desiree Maybee, who's the Sexual Assault and Prevention Coordinator at the Naval Construction Battalion Center, which is the CB base, and here in Gulfport. So anyway, Desiree, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. You know, when you hear the statistics I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it is a really serious problem, and we have to stay focused on this because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to eliminate it where we could. You know, unfortunately, too often we're not able to. But there's a process that we can go through to give people an outlet, and that's why I'm thrilled to see that the CB base has assigned you into this coordinator role to really pay attention to it. But it is a problem in our society, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. It's not only specific to the military, it is a global issue. And April of 2021 actually marks the 20th anniversary of the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But the history goes back way before that time period.
Yeah. So, hey, where did you grow up?
So I was actually an Army brat. And so I grew up and moved around a lot when I was younger. And I actually joined the Navy myself. And I was stationed at this installation that I'm actually working on in Gulfport now. And I was an equipment operator in the Seabees. And I had the privilege of being able to go through the military victim advocate course for the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program. And I was actually credentialed through the National Organization of Victim Assistance. And I decided to leave the military and finish my degree. And I ended up coming back working as the civilian victim advocate for a short period of time. And then I transitioned over to the supervisory SARC position as of this year.
Well, congratulations on doing that. I mean, it's good because you have a passion for the subject and sounds like you've done your homework. So you call coastal Mississippi home now.
I do. My husband and I, we've been living here on and off for 13 years. And I live in Hancock County. And so, you know, I love the coast. I love the seafood that's here. And,
you know, well, I was just going to say, we hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, that people come here through, it might be the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force. They're from all over the country, but when they get out, they settle here. They just love it.
Oh yeah, it's a great place to live.
So what does a sexual assault and prevention coordinator do?
So our focus is to actually implement the sexual assault prevention and response program. We provide victim advocacy that is victim-centered care to service members, their dependents, as well as some of the civilians that work on board the installation. And we could provide them that we're a bridge to gap basically services for that individual. The military has reporting requirements or options that are available, such as like a restricted or an unrestricted report. And as a victim advocate, we can actually accompany that individual throughout the entire process, so they don't have to go through like an investigative process alone. They can have a victim advocate present if they get a sexual assault forensic exam at the hospital. So we're really there to help empower victims from going from a victim to a survivor in a situation, and really providing that opportunity for someone to be there throughout the entire process.
Hey, so it's interesting that you had done different roles as it relates to this before getting into your current management role. But do you have a sense that over the years that there's been a lot more, I don't know, science and psychology and efforts around this that it's evolved into something where where the ability to help victims is much more refined than it was, say, 10 or 15 years ago?
Oh, most definitely, because the military does have a credentialing process for people, because service members can actually act in the capacity of providing victim advocacy, and they utilize a credentialed program to do that. And we also have developed training, and we go out, we try to prevent bad things from happening, essentially by informing people of what is appropriate or inappropriate behaviors, language, touching, those types of things. And so I think we're getting to a better place in that matter. It's just a matter of continuing to provide education and really getting others to understand that, maybe what they say or how they acted or what they do is inappropriate. And that's essential for everyone, even a parent, to help explain that to their children.
So, we all tend to be a product of the environment we were raised in. So you have a lot of young people who come from all over the country. And, I love the notion of being proactive, educating as much as possible. And in some cases, you may be deprogramming some of the things that where they came from, it was okay to do or say those things. And in the environment they're in today, it's not okay to do those things. And just focusing on helping them understand what is acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior, and doing it proactively. That's the key to success, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And this year, we actually have a call to action, which really, I really like this call to action, because typically we have one every year and it kind of changes. But this year's is respect, protect, and empower. And so at all times, we commit to treating others with respect. We protect one another from harm and retaliation through active intervention, and empower those around you to speak up or intervene during something. So I feel like the military does an excellent job, because they're always training. They hold people to a higher standard, and so we hope that if a service member were to see something, they would be equipped with the knowledge, and they would intervene during that type of situation and potentially get someone to help. And that's why, it's so important to have a program of ours out there.
I see that so clearly. And it's not just about re-educating in some cases, or just educating in some cases, but it's also saying that if you're not the one who had those behaviors that are unacceptable, if you observe someone who has those behaviors, there's a role for you to play in that effort. And whether you're in the military or whether you're just in society, might be a work environment, or could be just out and about somewhere. Everyone's got a role to play, don't they?
Yeah, they call it active intervention. in the military, that's what we're trying to educate people about, because it is very often now that, when something bad happens, you see people, pulling out their cell phones to record things rather than actually like trying to help. And so they say you shouldn't be a bystander while something bad is happening. You should actually, actively try to intervene. If it's to a point where it's unsafe for you, at least calling someone to come and intervene is always a good option available.
That is really good advice. Again, whether you're in the military or not, that is really good advice, because the truth is, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's sexual assault, whatever the situation might be, if you don't intervene, or if you don't learn the proper behaviors, you can literally change someone's life negatively in ways that they will have to live with for the rest of their lives. And if you have an opportunity to stop that, you should. Is that basically the message?
Oh, yeah. And when I go out and I give trainings, I always tell people to be a good human being, which sounds pretty simple when you say, hey, be a good human being. However, it's a little bit more complicated, because if we were all good human beings, then we would never have any problems in our world, right? And we live in a utopia. However, in these situations, it is really important that if someone is they've become aware that something has happened, to believe the person.
Yes.
And that person knows what happens to them, and they know their truth. However, being that supportive person and getting them in touch with either the Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence along the Gulf Coast here, or even to a program such as the SAPR program, then we can ultimately change and help that person recover through that process, instead of being someone who hinders their recovery.
I can't agree more, Desiree. I've read something at the beginning of the show from my friend Susan Griggs. I don't know who the author of this was, but it said this: your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, but the way you make people feel is your trademark. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has, even on this particular subject, which is a painful subject to talk about, but it's a real problem in our society, and everyone can play a role to help kind of minimize it and be proactive and make the impact on others as little as little as we possibly can. Hey, it's been a pleasure to visit with you, Desiree Maybee, and we could have gone a whole nother segment. You did a terrific job. Thanks for visiting with me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Okay, when we come back, we'll continue another wonderful conversation. We'll see you after this break.
Hello, my name is Desiree Maybee. I'm the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator for NCBC Gulfport. My office is located in Fleet and Family Support Center, Building 30, on board the installation, and I can be reached at 228-323-4717, 24/7, 365. April 1st begins the month of sexual assault awareness and prevention, and this year's call to action is respect, protect, and empower. For more information, you can contact me at the number listed below, as well as the DoD Safe Helpline at 877-995-5247.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on AllenToyota.com.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
It just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Last week, the company that owns SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast and several other radio stations, G96.7 Gulf Coast, 97.9 CPR, Rocks 105.9 The Monkey, and 106.3 Casino Radio here in coastal Mississippi, had what is called the $1 Million Job Fair, and actually did a live show where I talked to several people who were involved in the job fair, from Superior Optical, from the Beau Rivage, from Allen Beverages, from the city of Gulfport. And one of the people that I was hoping to have an opportunity to talk to was our next guest. He's someone who I really look forward to having a chat with. I should also point out that J. Allen Automotive Group is one of the title sponsors of Coast View, and I'm really delighted to have Jonathan as a partner in this effort. But David Porter, who is the parts and service manager at Allen Toyota, and we were supposed to connect during the job fair. We couldn't get connected, so I asked him to come back on the show today just to visit with me for just a second. How you doing, David?
Doing well, doing great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. You know, one of the things I said about the job fair is that there was probably never been a job fair like that one in this moment. You know, coming out of the pandemic, as the economy starts to ramp back up again. When I looked at the wide variety of jobs, from entry level to management roles to marketing and accounting and every point in between, there were so many, almost 70 companies were there representing so many different jobs. And, you guys were among the group, and you had a wide variety of job opportunities there. What kind of job opportunities did you put out there for people to have the opportunity to get into?
Really, I mean, what you can do, at the dealership, and of course, a lot of people go to sales and selling cars, but a lot of the opportunities we have come with the recon department of our used vehicles and servicing all these Toyotas here on the coast that we're selling, right? So really, I mean, what we need probably more than anything else is people who can get their hands dirty and who can use their brains and who can figure out issues and problems on vehicles and help these customers get back on the road safely.
Yeah, what's interesting in my conversation with Jonathan is, first of all, very innovative. He comes from a family of car dealers, but he respects that legacy for sure, but he's sort of blazing his own trail and, really, really innovative. But the fact that you worked your way up through the company is a real indication that if someone wants to join a company, even if it's at an entry-level position, the opportunity to get trained on the culture and understand sort of what Jonathan's expectations are about the culture, and then have the chance to move up in the company are very significant there, aren't they?
They are, yeah. I started here 15 years ago. I started selling cars. I didn't even know selling cars was a job, when I started. And I had a friend who was doing it, and I lucked up and got an opportunity, right? And it's just been a total change for me, and the economic freedoms I've had and how I've been able to help families and friends, and it's been a really, really good tool. And then of course growing with the company, starting in sales, and then getting a finance background, a new car manager, used car manager, service manager, parts manager. It's just there's a rental department, there are BDC development. I mean, we have plenty of opportunities. And the cool thing that we provide is we're all about growing people internally. So a lot of the people who are leaders or leading in, you know, certain departments started as a greeter, started as a detail porter, you know, simple things like that. And you stay committed and you have an opportunity to grow with us. And that's what we do.
I know from my own experience, and, you know, I had been a CEO for maybe the last 15, 16 years of my life, that the key to success is certainly you can hire somebody from the outside and bring in a new skill set, and that's important for sure. But the real key to success is bringing people inside the organization who think well, who have the right attitude, who want to sort of embrace the company, and then teaching them to do certain jobs, and then let them move up in the country so that you maintain what are essentially the core values of the company, so that people understand the culture. When people stay at a company for a long period of time and work their way up in a company, it creates a lot of consistency in what the expectations are going to be, doesn't it?
It does. You feel connected, you know, with the decisions and how the growth of the company is kind of moving. You feel that you're a part of that. And here at J. Allen, I mean, our employees really are. You know, without them, I mean, we can't progress and give the Coast what it needs, you know, from online ordering of parts to scheduling, you know, service, you know, any way possible, from your phone to calling, whatever. And then, of course, even internet sales and everything too, and just having the right people who are, you know, helping us grow. And it's a great place to work, definitely.
Well, what impressed me about Jonathan, and I do mean innovation, because it's about having a company that can turn on a dime and understands why the diversity of revenue streams inside the company are really important. And when the pandemic hit, the role that service played in used cars and all these different, they contributed in different ways than they did before the pandemic. You were right at the center of that, weren't you?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, luckily we have multiple departments, you know, and we were able to, if sales were down, then we could, you know, service was up. Service is down, sales is up, you know, and it kind of balances each other. But here, since the pandemic, we've just been blessed with both of them being, you know, extremely busy. I mean, even our used cars, we've sold 400% turn, 4 times turn on used cars. It's how fast we get them in and out. And it integrates with the service department because we have to service those cars and get them safe for the client. So it all kind of, you know, it does help having multiple departments, but we definitely all work together and, you know, work in unison. I think that's kind of the beauty of working here.
Well, it's good to hear that, David. So in the short time we had left, how did it go at the job fair? You got some good candidates?
Yeah, we did. We got some good ones, and we are looking to schedule and set those up.
Yeah, good.
I lost you for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem at all. That's the way it is.
Like I said, got some Mississippi State graduates. We got some local entry people. We're gonna out and see if we can get some people some new career opportunities here.
That's awesome. Hey, so David, thank you. So it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm glad we finally connected. And good luck to you guys. This has been David Potter, who's the Parts and Service Manager at J. Allen Toyota. And anyway,
yes, sir.
Have a great day, buddy. We'll see you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. And have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.